One. All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Nerds of Legend. I am Ben. Next to me is the Baby Davy, and next to her is Melissa, and then Joel.
Order of importance.
I was just right to left, or left to right order. We're gonna get started here in a little bit with our little book talk on the third book of the Red Rising Trilogy. Where we'll be discussing the book Midnight Sun by Pierce Brown, and just a few announcements. We'll be continuing our Candlekeep campaign. I'm thinking this will be our last episode before Will takes over, unless people don't move things along, but we'll see what happens.
I feel like it's been your last episode for, 3 weeks now?
It has been. But things always move slower than planned. So we'll be doing that on Thursday. And then on Monday, well, I guess we'll see if it happens on Monday, because we seem to have been doing Tuesdays lately. We will be
be back to regular schedule.
Okay.
Starting next week. I don't remember what happened yesterday, but...
We were sick.
Oh, yeah, we were sick.
Yeah.
I don't remember yesterday, because yesterday...
Yes. Melissa and Joel are of weak genetic stock, and we're sick. So,
I would like to just share that we are on the same healing trajectory.
If you
and
your shit,
and Joel is taking a full dose of prednisone. I am not able to take anything except an inhaler.
That is fair.
Your never missed attempt to be like, look at how weak and useless he is.
So next week we'll be talking about Jormungandr, the world serpent, and his myths and fun stuff surrounding him. And that's it. So with that, let's get into it. Joel, do you want to do the little summary?
Go ahead. You can do it this time.
Gosh, I don't want to do it. I did it last time.
No, all right.
Well, then, I'll do it.
Oh, you want to do it?
It'll be short. So
okay.
It picks up, and everything has gone to hell, and then they manage it.
Mm-hmm.
I hate you.
That was very much a reductionist take on what happened in this book, but
yeah. Glad you joined us. It's really, really helpful input. Just fucking nailed it. Well, thanks for joining us on this in-depth review of Midnight Sun.
Yep.
Fucking killed it. The literature degree really put to work.
I got you.
I'm a little disappointed you didn't throw in and they lived happily ever after in there. Like
amazing, especially. So what happened with this one was after the betrayal by the Jackal, shocking, we find Darrow has been entombed.
In a table.
In a prison, you find out it's a table that the Jackal has been eating on top of him every single day.
And presumably fucking on top of with Antonia.
Yeah, also doing that. Absolutely. Like insane.
Yeah.
He is rescued by, I want to say, Severo and the Howlers.
Mm-hmm. Actually, he's rescued by some Greys.
Is he? Oh, yeah, he is rescued by a few Greys who answer to Severo.
And then the Sons of Ares.
On the mantle of Ares.
Yes.
Isn't it? It's not Harmony.
Not Harmony, she sucks.
Harmony's the bitch that betrayed everybody. Siblings. Yes.
And he is brought back to where they notice he is in horrible health. Severo is barely holding on because he likes to fuck shit up but doesn't know how to run anything. So they spend the time recarving him back into
fighting shape.
Bolster his body back to where it used to be, getting himself back together, and he slowly puts together his group. Roke is now a serious issue.
Yes.
Is Roke already dead? Yeah, no, Roke is a serious matter at this time, and has, at the age of, 25? Now, like, the leader of the entire fleet, which I think is a really fast career progression and unrealistic.
Yeah, everybody, all these, 22-year-olds have become like the leaders of the solar system. Like,
right, like just immediately they just hand over all their shit to children.
Yeah.
And through a series of battles and failing upwards, Darrow reasserts his control, and essentially they find themselves face to face with the Sovereign, where they end up taking over control. We'll kind of dig more into this later, like as we go through the episode, because it's a lot happens and very little at the same time in this one. So.
And everything it builds to this issue or this book, right? Like, so the last book was kind of bringing you here. You have the final showdown, but you realize, spoiler alert, at the end, the enemy that they think that is the big, like the Sovereign, right? Like, the one he's wanted to kill the whole time is now, she's now bowing to the Jackal because he stole essentially nuclear weapons and is threatening to blow up,
the moon.
So
yeah,
it's a nice, it comes to everything is tied up fairly well, in my opinion. I think it's a nice conclusion. My favorite part is that he was able to reconcile with Cassius.
By the end,
at least come to some sort of peace.
Yeah,
which is nice.
Elizabeth did not give a shit about that part. You could tell
she
from
did
her.
Not care about Cassius.
Yeah, she didn't care about the relationships at all. She just was all about the destruction.
And he ends up with Mustang, and they live happily ever after with a secret kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I feel like
they had a secret 2-year-old. Yeah.
At the end of that story, you're like, of course she did. Like, you could see that ending. Like, as soon as she's like, I'd like you to meet somebody else. And they're sitting there all quiet.
And Darrow's like, oh, this is the part where she kills me finally.
Yeah.
it's like the entire book, the entire thing is like Darrow's waiting for the other shoe to drop again. Where it's like, oh, this is the part where they kill me, even though they know everything now. And why would they do that now?
I'm trying to trust them. I'm trying to learn how to trust people, but everyone's going to kill me. Severo does, in fact, live, which was the only thing I cared about. I
am very mad that my favorite character, didn't live.
Who was your favorite character?
They killed Ragnar.
I was very sad.
I was very angry.
I was like, that one really hurt. I did really like him. That one made me sad.
Yeah, Ragnar became kind of like a banner for all Obsidian.
Yeah. He became the Darrow of the Obsidians, essentially.
And like you do feel a certain sort of way with the way that Ragnar was going. Funny when you look at the pyramid and you realize that the Obsidians are low, like they're low color.
Yeah.
Considering their big, monstrous powerhouses that are just like they're actually feared by everybody around them, and the fact that they were so strongly controlled by the gold because of just how like terrifying they were. And then to find out they were low, I thought they would have been like higher colors. Like in
the first book, that's what I thought they were. The way he referred to Obsidians, I was like, oh, those must be the guys in charge of the Greys. Like they're like the unit commanders.
The other way around.
But nope, it was like the Obsidians are the ones that are basically just like the muscle. They're just like
the same line as the browns and pinks.
Yeah.
Like you're like, oh, they're in there with the servants and the sex workers.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. I think like barbarian stormtroopers are.
Well, it was also shown that they're like sort of like there as like also utilized as like gladiatorial entertainment in certain circles as well. So it's like they're not just like these shock troops.
All right. Well, whatever it was, Elizabeth did not care about this book at all.
No, she's not amused.
She wasn't. This was not her normal interest.
Yep.
Yes.
She was waiting for Edward to sparkle and was very disappointed this was the wrong book.
This is also the last episode that Missy will be on. We are getting divorced for that. Yeah, so...
all right. Yeah, so...
Midnight Sun. Name there.
I felt like this one... I don't know, like, I didn't have, like, problems with it, per se, but, like, I feel like it didn't hit the same way as, like, the first, like, Red Rising.
I agree. Did. This one kind of, like, seemed to chase this. They all seem to chase the same format.
Yeah, it's like Darrow starts at his lowest, has to, like, learn a lesson, either whether it's, like, to trust people. So, like, basically, in the first one, he had to learn how to, like, be a leader. And then in the second one, he had to learn how to, like, trust people. And then in the third one, he had to trust his he has to learn how to trust himself again. So it's like,
yeah, well, I feel like the Golden Sun was I feel like that was a reverse. Like in the beginning, it's lowest to best, and then Golden Sun, it's like he was at his pinnacle.
They had to bring him back down to that low level again.
Yeah, and then he had to work his way back up. This one, he started at the bottom and had to like work his way. This one felt like he tried to copy the same pattern as Red Rising. Mm-hmm. He's at this broken thing, and he's got to like fight his way up the top. Except it seemed in this one like he just showed up, and they're like, "Oh, you're here, stuff." Mm-hmm. And they just handed it to him, and
well, that's
to a certain point, because he was sorry, in the beginning, you have him like coming to terms with, like, he was broken, right? Mm-hmm. He was in a sensory deprivation chamber, essentially, like heard distant things but didn't know, right? Like, he's back and he's broken and he's wrestling with the idea of, I want to be, or I'm not the leader anymore. And
all these people are looking at him as this messianic figure.
Yeah. And so he has to come to terms, and when him and Severo finally, like,
of their, like, fight.
Like, I was happy that they were able to work it out.
Mm-hmm. And that's totally how, like I was like, oh, they're gonna fight, and then it's all gonna be okay. Like,
he does. Pierce Brown seems to do very well with the relationships of people, like, like more of the like masculine feelings. Mm-hmm. Like you could tell he had a lot of ups and downs. Are you leaving?
Okay. And Elizabeth is done. I don't want to be distracting.
Okay.
And Elizabeth said she's sick of this shit and she will no longer be participating in this anymore.
Okay. Very well.
Yes.
She's allowed to do that because she's a baby.
Yes. Well, she did just get back from school and is it's daycare, but she thinks it's school.
Probably having to figure out equilibrate.
The resolutions with the male character seems to be kind of like rooted in, I've done this, like this is how my friends we all as a guy, you can remember the argument you had with your friend where you end up fighting with them, and then afterwards you're like, yeah, we're all good. It's the female interpersonal arguments, like the ones with Mustang. It seems like even at the very end, he's waiting for her to be like, I'm not sticking around, right?
Yeah. I still hate you.
Yeah, I still hate you.
Yeah.
You red son of a bitch. Mm-hmm. Even though I will tell you, the coolest one, shit. I just saw my camera go in and out, which means I now no longer can make fun of Brendan. Is Quicksilver, where Quicksilver is like, yeah, I'm.
Oh, I knew it as soon as that one pink dude was in his bed. I was like, oh.
Yeah, he's the son of Ares.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm Ares' first recruit or whatever.
Yeah. I'm the bankroll for Ares.
I am. And
they're like, so why didn't you help us? I was like, because you were a bad investment and you were failing.
Yeah, I did like his character quite a bit. His character is like, listen, oh, we're going to do this. You're going to fight and scream and yell. Oh, no, don't do that. Oh, no. Because in reality, he who has the money makes the rules. You know, I think that's one of those old statements. I want to say Rothschild said it like in the 1500s. Give me control of the money and I care not who makes the laws.
Yeah.
Like, he personified that. Like, Severo's like, I am Aries. And he's like, well done. Very cute. Good job, you know.
I just love how he keeps calling him Barker.
Yeah.
Instead of Baka. He's like, Barker? Is that you?
Yeah. But it was very, very, I loved him. I thought he was a great character.
Mm-hmm. He was great. And he provided that sort of like, thing that like hadn't been present since like, because Theodora was gone, right? Or no, was she still around?
Theodora was around.
Okay. I couldn't remember. Oh yeah, she'd become like an actual like leader sort of figure. It like provided that little like last bump they needed to be like, all right, it's go time.
Right.
You know, and I think what's interesting about this one is like what I've noticed with Pierce Brown's writing is that, especially after reading 3 of them, I'm
actually really glad we did that 1, 2, 3, because I feel like the story has a resolution.
Yes, yeah, it's definitely resolved. There's other ones that we've read that I'm like, I mean, I could read another one, but I'm like, this one wrapped up nicely, but
right, like we there definitely is with her becoming, with Mustang becoming the sovereign at the end, and then being like, now what are we going to do? You know, it starts up. And I have started reading a little bit of Iron Gold, and Iron Gold, it's a definitely different feeling.
Yeah,
but because now it's 10 years, and they're in the process of like still cementing this empire. They are fully cased in, like. They can't go to the outer planets because they gave those to that dude. We're like, we will never.
He swore he would never cross the asteroid field or whatever. And
which I feel like is a bad move for, foresight.
Darrow had no choice. It's sort of like what I've noticed was like there's a lot of times where it's like, and I think Sean said it when we covered the first book, was like a lot of these like everything with Darrow is about like momentum, and a lot of times whenever like every time Darrow sits back and is like, all right, we've got this, and like, or like, all right, and then he like he's like thinks that he's like won,
something else happens.
Like that's the point where like, all right, here's the part where like shit is gonna hit the fan now. Like it's never going to be like, as soon as like there's like that, all right, we've got it, we've made it through, there's always something that happens that fucks everything up. It's like they beat Roke's fleet, and sadly Roke decides to go out by taking his own life instead of like joining with Darrow, because Roke's like, I believe in gold, in only gold, or whatever.
Well, he believes. Now, remember, he's the same as Augustus.
Yeah.
I can never remember his name. Arcos, right?
No.
Arcos, or whatever the hell it is. The arch governor of Mars, king of Mars. Is
something Augustus, or whatever the fuck his name is.
Yeah, that's what it is. And where
it's like humanity cannot prosper unless
gold. Like they need
a strong leader. Yeah,
and that's what it is they don't have a leader, and so Rope believes that he loves humanity to the point that he is 100% bought into the idea that we are the leader. Mm-hmm. We lead the groups, we lead the countries, we lead everybody. We are the ones that guide humanity towards the future.
Yeah.
And the issue with that is that in doing so, this is where he doesn't see it. The issue that all of those that have that we guide everybody is we can't fuck up because you're all too dumb to do your own thing, you know?
Well, there's no policing of themselves. They like everybody's able to do their own thing, and everybody any gold can kill another gold, and like the only thing you have to worry about is blood. Like the only thing you have to worry about as a gold is if you piss somebody off enough that they declare a blood feud against you.
Right.
Like
it does seem to be like when you read the stories of like the silliness of like nobility, where it's starting to like age itself out of the need of the you know, like you're thinking like the rise of the merchant class in like the 16th, 17th century, and the nobility is starting to become silly, where they're mired in like this pomp and circumstance, and this like big over the top shit, you know, that they become almost silly. I mean, they thought themselves terribly, terribly important, but the reality of it is like you look at European history and like nobody really gave a fuck. Like it's not like down on the ground. They're like, "What's the king doing today?"
Yeah,
they're just like, "Fuck, I gotta go to work," and we don't care. You know, but they're like, we are essential to blah, blah, blah. Not really.
Yeah.
I mean, the French Revolution right there kind of showed, no, they're not.
Right.
Dad, I need you.
But I think like the buying in of their own excellence was the downfall of gold. The problem is unlike in actual human history, these people have had 800 years of being bred into being, you know,
they're literally physically, you know, harder, better, faster, stronger than everybody else. Like,
yeah, like they're literally genetically superior.
Yeah, there's nothing to like, and like they're actually, you know, like they're all geniuses. They're all like peerless athletes. They're all like, you know, can lift a small car. You know,
Reds are like tiny and can, you know, reproduce like jackrabbits.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like
they are only happy living underground and digging holes or like doing menial labor.
Yeah,
like they've built these people that this is what they do where the society itself reinforces their belief structure of this is what we do. This is how we do it.
Sorry about that. My son is wanting to play with Legos. My Legos. Oh, and the lights are on.
Rock on.
Rock on. Yeah, so I feel like it's very interesting, and it also comes into play where like you sort of, it's like the sort of oh, I got an echo. There's the sort of fulfillment of like what Darrow started in the second book, where it's like he has, you know, Orion as his ship's captain who's a blue, and then he's like pink. Theodora is like leading his, like, I can't remember, like she's doing like the bureaucracy that coppers usually do and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's like, but the entire society is built to be at a glance. They're built to look at and go, yep, that's what you do. That is why you do it. That's how you do it. You're this. You can only do that. Like,
right.
It's kind of like if you think about how would our society run if we got rid of uniforms, you know? Like, we see somebody in a policeman's uniform. That's a cop. For good or bad, that's a cop. You know, you see firefighters, same thing. You know who's a doctor. You know by
McDonald's employee, Target, like Target worker.
Employees, where they go, like the vest and the name tag is how you tell this guy works at Walmart. You know,
you can tell the office people are because they're wearing polos and button ups and
right. How many Patagonias you got on? Let you know if you're in finance. Yeah, like. It's funny because I was talking to Andy, and Andy's like, I've got so many Patagonias. I'm like, yeah, I know. Like, you are the financier of financiers, so that I know. So.
Yeah. And I think that's what's kind of a thing with this one, is it's sort of finally, like, I think around the part where, like, Darrow takes charge is the part where, like, he finally stops underestimating people and assuming everything's going to be fine. You know?
This fell out.
Yeah, no.
I'm trying to get it back on.
It's like he gets to the point where with Darrow's biggest problem is, I feel it's hubris.
Yeah.
I feel Darrow's biggest problem is, I have to do it. I was the one motivated by EO's song. I was the one married to EO.
I don't think that's the issue. It's the issue is every time Darrow thinks that he hasn't, like, every time he stops thinking, like, 3 steps ahead is the part where, like, he loses. Like,
he also, Darrow's
like,
problem,
that's what happens at the end of the second book. The second he, like, lets his guard down and is like, yes, I've won. The Jackal likes me now. Bellona's making me his heir. All this stuff is the part where, like, everything comes crashing down. You know, like,
really think about it, that's huge. That's the definition of hubris. That's
right.
That's a guy being like, through my own greatness, I have made X.
Yeah.
Like, he was like, I am now Augustus's heir. Mm-hmm. Now I'm thinking for 10 seconds that the Jackal lies about fucking everything.
Yeah.
I mean, for God's sakes, he ate people and he was like, and I'll do it again.
But I gave him a present.
Yeah. He literally does not think anything. He literally is so arrogant that he goes into his own mentality of, like, when he does something, he's like, how can I make a mistake? Because he is built at, like, everybody talks about EO's song. Darrow's got his own myth that he's built up around himself. I am the Reaper.
Yeah.
I am the Reaper. He kept saying it, the Reaper, the Reaper, the Reaper. He built himself up to, like, almost, like, legendary status. Mm-hmm. And he has bought into his own myth too. And every time he fails, it seems like he's shocked. Like, he's like, how can I do this? I'm the Reaper. I am the one that reaps. I am the Reaper.
Are you doing?
Max, stop.
Why is it only you two?
So yeah, it becomes really problematic for him in the future. For him to come in and constantly be like,
I pretend it's up.
I am the one that does.
Yeah.
I am the one that must do. I am the one that has to be in control. I am the one that they look up to. I am the, I won the Institute. Which honestly, at this point, the Institute has become moot. Like, yeah. It has fallen to the point of being ridiculous.
Right. As like the Institute doesn't matter anymore, bud. That was 5 years ago or whatever.
Yeah, like you're playing on a much, much, much bigger field. Like, let it go. Yeah. It's like sitting there wondering why you're not being adored in college because you were you won the homecoming game.
Yeah. It's like the dude that freaking it's like the dude that like was the quarterback for his high school team and when they went to won the state match or state game or whatever, and he's like still like, I won a state in football and I would have gone pro if I hadn't blown out my knee in college.
Yeah. Except this one was, I killed everyone.
Yeah, I killed everyone. Therefore, I am the best.
He's got a very, very hands-on. He does not understand, and it becomes very clear in Midnight Sun, Darrow does not understand how things work. He just understands big hammer breaks big things.
He understands war.
Yeah, but I mean,
and that's it.
To really think about it, it's not hard to understand. In this version, understanding war is literally just, hit it.
Well, I think the thing that he understands is like how like the soft golds, I'm going to call them, or like the old golds. Yeah. Oh. No, like the old, like people like the Sovereign and the Jackal and the below, like all the people that he kicks the shit out of all the time. Like, he understands how they think.
Right.
You know, and he understands how to, like, beat them. But every time he tries to, like, act like them is the part where he, like, fucking loses, you know.
Because he hasn't. He has no framework.
Right. No.
At this point, it's almost ridiculous.
What?
At this point, it's almost ridiculous. Like, it's, he's been a gold almost as long as he's been aware of him being a red at this point. Like, he was a red at 16, right?
Right.
And then he was carved into a gold at 16, 17.
Mm-hmm.
The Institute was, what, 3 years?
I think so, yeah.
Years.
So he's like, he's been a gold half as long as he's been a red. Yeah.
Right. And his red was being a child, which doesn't really count. Like, so he keeps, but he's very much caught in the, he shows growth and then he reverts. Like, somebody will come in there and do something that's too gold or he's not prepared for it. And he's like, it's because I'm a red. No. Like, or you just didn't learn it. Like, the reason why Mustang walked off, and he's like, you know, at the very end, the big reveal where she's like, baby, and he's like, weird thing to hide from me, but cool. You know, like, she's like, I wanted to learn what kind of man you were. And when it comes down to it, with what kind of man he was, he didn't have much of the ability to do the hard thinking. He's a strategist. He's a military person. He's hit them first before they hit you, but he's not what do I do afterwards? The afterwards is what he doesn't do. And that's where he struggles with, is he struggles with any kind of planning that is not Marshall planning. And this book is where he really understands that, hey, I don't know shit about how do you fund an army. I don't know anything about that. How do I, maintain their morale after we're done fighting? Because it's easy to get people to fight for a cause. What do you do when that cause is done? That's where he's like leaning more on, you're muted. That's where he's leaning more on, like Mustang.
How do I get all these people that disagree with each other to like play nice while we're like moving on? Yeah, for the long term. Well, because it's like, because it almost like, we didn't talk about this, but as they enter into like back into like the inner system, the Jackal has like sent a video of him executing Darrow's uncle, like out into like the asteroid belt on like repeat until like Darrow can see it, so that Darrow and his whole army can see it. And Uncle Nero is like a beloved like son of Ares, and so it like almost tears the entire army apart, and like they cause like the Obsidians start a lynch mob.
Massive amounts of like fuck you energy coming out.
Yeah. And this is the part where like Severo comes into his own, because he's like, I don't give a shit what color you are. It's like, well, I'm a murderer. Like you want to kill this Cassius because he's a gold, or because he's a murderer, and because he killed Ares. Well, he killed Ares
because I like killing.
Yeah. And he's like, and guess what? I forgive him, but he murdered my father. He just murdered Ares to you. And he's like, and guess what? He's like, I murdered a tons of people too, so you should execute me too. And then he just like hangs himself.
Yeah.
And they're just like, oh shit, he's right.
Well, the funny thing is with Severo comes into himself as well. Also, Severo doesn't understand shit. Mm-hmm. Severo is like so much more chaotic.
Yeah.
Than
well, because like Darrow doesn't realize it until they're in their mission with Quicksilver that like Severo's like, it's like literally like Severo's always been crazy,
legitimately insane.
Yeah, like he's like Severo is like lost, and he's like just been trying. Severo's just been like trying to pick up the pieces, because like he finally gets Darrow back, and like Darrow is like not acting like Darrow. Like his friend is not
super broke.
Yeah. So he's just like, all right, well, I just have to figure out what to do, and he'll figure it out eventually,
Yeah, and Darrow does it, and Darrow's overwhelmed. Like he does not. He has got like the most impressive amount of self-loathing. Mm-hmm. Like Darrow hates himself. He wakes up in the morning with self-loathing. Like he wakes up and he's like, I hate myself. The alarm goes off and he starts hating himself.
Yeah.
And it's a little annoying as a character. It's more than a little irritating because he's so self-deprecating. But he doesn't trust. I also think he's exhausted. Like I also think he's like, where you get that point where you're like just beyond done.
Yeah.
And that's where I think he is. I think he is beyond done. He is ready to just hang up. He no longer wants to be the Reaper. He's just fucking tired of it.
Yeah.
And
he's like, but the work's not finished,
Right, and here's Severo looking like a happy-dappy murder machine.
Yeah.
Severo looks like he wakes up in the morning and he's like, here we go, a killing again, a killing again. And he's so happy about it.
Yeah.
And it seems like he doesn't realize right away how much he has built something he has to put himself into. And he does, even though he in the first two books bought into his own myth.
Yeah.
In the third book, he forgot it. He thought that since he was disappeared, that they forgot about him, and so the Reaper is gone, and so Severo took over, and the world has moved on without him. And it takes him a minute to realize that myth is what's driving this story.
Yeah. Well, also the whole thing is he spent 6 months being tortured.
Yeah.
And basically a
pretty hellish torture too. I've got to give it to the Jackal when he comes up with.
Well, he spent 6 months being physically tortured before he even got put in the table.
Right.
For another 6 months.
Which as far as crazy tortures go for the Jackal, that's just amazing.
Yeah.
So when you escape, you find out not only were you not put in a thrown away dungeon, you were in the center of everything.
Yeah.
People were eating and drinking and fucking on top of you or whatever.
Yeah.
You're like, wow, that's horrible.
Yeah. That was just oh. Yeah. He's in a table.
It's crazy.
To the point where even Asha's dude. If the sadistic bitch that is Asha is hey, maybe you need to chill out a bit, bud.
Right. But it was I don't know. I think honestly the Jackal was the downfall of everybody.
Oh yeah.
The Jackal was so crazy that he's actually the one that pushed Cassius being like, ooh.
And Roke. Roke probably wouldn't have turned if Quentin hadn't died in the
oh yeah.
Because Darrow would have been able to talk to him in time, and Quentin wouldn't have been able to blame Darrow for that.
Yeah. And that's another one is he is the Jackal is so, I don't actually have a word to describe him. He's
evil,
unfocusedly sociopathic. He's willing to at the end he was willing to blow up the entire moon and all the civilizations on it to take over the moon. Yeah.
Well, it's just no, because that would cement his rule of Mars with no one would ever touch him again. It's sort of this quote gets overused so much, but it's the whole, some men just want to see the world burn.
It literally became what it seems like. It seems like he became that kind of bastard that was if I can't have it, no one will. And he was willing to destroy, and this is where he becomes the classic villain. Is Asha was like a systemic villain.
Yeah.
And
well, it's very much like it's the if I can't have it, it's the it's like the Joffrey. It's like if I can't have it, no one can.
It honestly felt a little bit Jokerish,
right?
Where he was like, if the Joker went forward and became like a small ugly gold, it would be that. It would be this guy.
Yeah, I did enjoy that in the book that like everyone that you wanted to die dies.
Oh yeah, he delivers in that.
In like horrific, often horrific ways.
Oh yeah, I will tell you at the end of it, like you really wonder how the fuck he's getting away, because he's like, all I have to do is say the word and she'll blow up everything. I don't remember what her name was. Was it Julia? Was that the one that was like?
No, you're thinking of Antonia Aljulii.
No, the one that was like
Lilith.
Lilith, yeah, she didn't give a fuck.
Yeah,
she loved the Jackals. She was his Harley Quinn.
She was his Severo.
We're gonna
without the good.
Right. She was like, we're gonna blow up a city on the moon if I say go. And she's like, fucking do it. Like she couldn't wait to kill everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she was super.
Well, it's interesting because he ripped out the Jackal's tongue before he could give the order to just blow everything up.
Right.
So like she was just like, all right, I'm going to continue with my last order that I was given, blow up something every minute.
Right. And it was like presented such a unique.
Well, it's just interesting because it was like everything had, like, I would say like the last two books. Actually, I mean, even the first one was like just trying to act around the whole like basically try to like beat the Jackal. Even back to like the first book, it was like we have to beat the Jackal, and then the second one was like how do we beat the Jackal without like giving him too much power, and then the third one was like how do we really beat the Jackal, because he's taking his ball and he's decided that and it was like Darrow had a full on like, no, Max. Like Darrow basically decided at the end of the third book, he's like, he did the war games thing. He's like, the only way to win is not to play.
Right.
Jackal's like, he's like, I've won. You must submit to my. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Rips out his tongue.
He's just sitting there being like, I don't know what's going. And it was funny. It's like, I remember where I was standing in Kovo, this Greek place, to buy heroes. And I'm just sitting there, and he's like, and I reached into his mouth with my helldiver hand, and I pulled out the Jackal's tongue. And you're like, oh my god, what the hell happened?
No, we're not
like
right now. We'll go upstairs.
That was like, and everybody else is looking at him like, what did you just do? So like and he's just standing there with the Jackal's tongue, and the Jackal's like, clearly he had not planned for this inevitability.
Yeah, because
he's like, only I'm able to be crazy, not you, only me. And
well, it's sort of like the Jackal is like the foil to Darrow, because Darrow is always plans within plans within plans. But with a good intention. But the Jackal is plans within plans within plans with a completely selfish and evil intention.
He's like, I remember
he's still looking at it as a game to win, and Darrow's like, this is not a game.
Joker.
Yeah.
He is. It's like he has a backup plan to his backup plans. And he reminds me of, like, honestly, Heath Ledger's Joker, where he's like, my plan is to just, I have no plan.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to break shit until people are like, here's some stuff. And he's like, right. Thanks. And then he'll break shit. You know, like.
And then it's like if at the end of Dark Knight, if like Batman, instead of trying to figure out what the Joker was planning and where the bombs were planted and playing the little word games, he just like threw the Joker off a building and then went like, all right, let's figure out where these bombs are now. You know, like, like,
I mean, like 12 million people or something like that died in like the space of 5 minutes.
yeah,
Like, that was insane.
yeah. But it was like, that was the only way forward, you know, like.
Right. But it's like he doesn't think about society at a large, like, at the end of it, the the Jackal's sole motivation was, well, Daddy picked you, so I hate you.
Yeah.
Which it's like a very childish, but you could see that how the society also, it was damaging itself. And that's
right.
Like, that's where Mustang came from, was like, not only are we hurting.
Well, it's created this entire society where, like, even though, like, well, it's like the whole thing where, like, the blood feud with the Bolognas, like, is completely predicated on the fact that, like, Darrow killed Julian, even though it was like, he was like, oh, he's a sweet boy, he was never going to make it through the Institute. It's like Darrow killed Julian, and Darrow was like, it was like, even though Darrow had no choice and he was just a child, because he like killed Julian, it was like what was he supposed to do? Just like roll over and take it, you know?
Right. Well, it was nonsensical too. It's like the whole thing is like, well, you killed my brother. Yeah, I had to. They put me in a position where I had to choose him or me. And then they're like, it's blood feud time. But then
even though Crassus is the, like, or whatever his name is, was the same way.
Yeah, everyone.
Crassus is just as vicious as like Darrow was, who's like such a monster. And then at the end, I like the end of the second one where Crassus was like, I didn't even like Julian.
Right. And it was the issue was with it was that like stodgy, inflexible, like, honor system, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you guys made the system that resulted in Julian dying. You knew he was going to die the second he got his invite.
Yeah.
Like, nobody was like, he's going to be successful.
Yeah, Cassie's like, I always knew my brother was going to die. It's like,
right.
Then why are you mad at me?
But why did you send him? It's a faux pas to send him. Not it's illegal.
No, it's a death sentence.
Yeah, but is it like an official one?
No, it's like if you refuse an invite to the Institute, you are you will be purged because just by your refusing the invitation by the Institute of Quality Control, you are therefore too weak and therefore should be purged.
Right.
So.
Yeah, but they're like, they made that system.
Mm-hmm.
And in making this system, like, they knew it was going to happen.
Right.
They knew so it was all over the top. And Julian was ridiculous. Julian was like jumping up and slapping people with white gloves, like,
how dare you impugn my honor?
Yeah, exactly like that. I imagine that's how Julian talked too, like, to the T. How dare you, sir? As like this foppish little thing that's like got a neckerchief. He's like, because he's dabbing his lips with it.
I am a son of the house of Bologna. You must recant your statement.
Like, he really believed by saying, like, it's my birthright, that Darrow was just going to be like, all right, and just lay over and let him stomp his face in.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't.
And Darrow's like,
really
that door doesn't open until one of us kills the other one. So.
Right. And he didn't understand. Like, it's like they've made all of their issues in this faux nobility.
Well, you create scarred, traumatized individuals, like,
oh yeah,
at age 16.
Well,
and then you expect them to go back to normal and act civilized again at the end of it?
I don't know. I've never murdered anyone.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know how much that's going to change you. But like when you understand every gold that has ever made it to adulthood is a murderer, like
yeah, every scarred or whatever.
No, you get the scars later. You don't get them from the Institute.
Oh, okay.
Every gold that gets accepted to the Institute is a murderer.
Yeah.
Which is so, like, all of them. I think every gold goes there.
Right. Oh, yeah, because, like, the whole thing is, like, that's the entrance exam to the Institute, right?
Yeah, to the society.
God. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Like, every single one of them has killed at least one person.
Right, it's nuts.
Yeah.
And so, like, you take the hardest of the hard. Well, actually, no. It's like...
No, because you have the pixie golds that didn't go to the Institute or whatever.
Right, it's the 1%, so it's the 1% of the 1%.
Yeah.
So, but, like, yeah, it's insane. Like, all the leaders are all killers.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't make sense, like, but then it does put into the end of, like, why everybody is so ruthless, because they're willing to do whatever to survive.
Right. Because that's what they've been taught, was like, you must do whatever you can to survive your time here.
Yeah. I don't know. I loved this. I liked this trilogy. It was a very interesting journey. The world is very interesting. I feel it was very hard to keep up with the momentum following such the breakneck pace of Red Rising.
Yeah.
Red Rising, you felt like you were on a journey. You felt the exhaustion with Darrow. You felt the betrayal and this, like, not physically, obviously, but you felt like as Cassius stabbed him, you felt the pain in Cassius. You know, his friend that he's doing this to, but also his honor is this. You felt all of these things. You took this journey, and then the next two books just kind of didn't hit the same way.
Well, I feel like they followed the same path.
Oh yeah, there definitely is the same metric for how it goes, the same pacing, but it felt like it's a different story. Like, well, it's a continuation of the same, but it felt like the momentum was gone. Like, Darrow's heart was like, fuck, now I've got to finish this. You know? It's
kind of like, have you read the Sword of Truth series by Terry Goodkind at all?
Holy shit, about that girl book, which got the little, like, gnome named Book?
I don't know what you're talking about.
She's like a witch, and she kills demons by looking at them in the eyes.
Definitely not.
And I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay. There's this series by Terry Goodkind called the Sword of Truth, and there's like there's a series of books, and it like sort of falls into this thing where the same sort of like
on that one.
Yeah, I was like, no. I mean, the first couple are really good. We could probably visit them at some point. But it falls into that very like each book becomes the same after a while, where it's like, oh, this is that pattern. He's going to like lose his powers, or he's going to like have to figure out a new power, and then get the MacGuffin and beat the bad guy. You know, sort of.
I feel like that's a lot of sci-fi and fantasy.
It's a very,
like now we are into what, our 30th book in this series so far, I think we have done.
Yeah.
And I've never read this much in my entire life, and I'm very happy that this podcast is forcing me to like read so much. And
not just from like the same thing. You know, over and over.
Yeah, because every now and then somebody tells you something wildly different. You're like, this is weird. But, like, there is a definite trope in that one of, like, get the thing, save the thing, you know, conquer the thing.
Yeah.
You know.
Get the MacGuffin. Yeah.
Right. Feel your feelings and scene.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I don't really have any other thoughts on this book. It wasn't my favorite one in the series. I think it did wrap up. It wrapped up this series very well. I feel like its downfall was it sort of tried to play to the same. It followed the same themes and same pattern as the other ones, which by it's like this is the third book that we've done this with, so it's kind of got a little bit like obviously it wasn't the
You could see the pattern.
I was like, oh, here's the point where somebody's going to betray Darrow or something's going to go wrong. Right. And then Darrow's going to like swoop in and become a helldiver again and fix it. And it's going to like climax again. That was his default every time. He's like, I'm a helldiver. I look at my helldiver hands.
My helldiver. Yeah, that was his go back to. I'm like, you were a helldiver for like 6 months. Shut the fuck up. You were a killing machine in the Institute for 3 years. You were a helldiver for like 6 months. He's like, and the fact that they incorporated claw drills as like their main attack, like,
I mean, that was sick. I mean,
it was great.
I was like, I have to do the only thing that like Roke would never suspect, and I guess that's drills.
It was awesome. Like, and these things are
because I think the point is like Leechcraft are like things that like they're ships that just like stick to the outside and like drill a hole and then it like fly off. But these claw drills, you can't shoot them away once they've drilled inside. It's like the difference of like a tick that's sitting on you versus like some kind of like worm, like hookworm that's like burrowed into your flesh. You know what I mean?
I don't conceptualize a claw drill. Like I imagine like a half a kilometer long hand is what I imagine, because like that's what it sounds like. Like it's like two hands, like kind of like this, like a spider, I think. And like, so I imagine them just flinging these out of the ships, and they're just biting into the side of the ships, and just every part of them turns like thousands and thousands of degrees, just melting through the hulls. And I'm like, that's a pretty badass bit of art,
Yeah. As always, this book was very like visually. Oh
my god, it would make a great like
visually
like an orgy of things to look at.
Like Pierce Brown's like visual descriptions of things was like always on point. It's just I feel like this one kind of like hit a lot of tropes that we were like used to seeing, like that we've become used to. I don't really know if I plan on continuing with the other trilogies.
Not right away. We're definitely going to take it.
Not right away. I also need something that isn't going to emotionally drain me as badly as these books did, because
it's a journey.
It's just like every single time I was like getting emotional whiplash. I'm like, oh, everything's going so well. Oh, everything sucks again, over and over and over again. Like it's just like a very like. I feel like this book is very like emotionally like taxing, and I'm ready for something a little bit more lighthearted.
The next book you pick is not that.
Is it not? I don't know.
It is. I will.
Well, this is my sister who's to blame for this one. But
no. Go to her and give her a hug and be like, "You done good."
Okay.
Because this book is spectacular, but it is.
Oh, you already started it.
Oh my god, are you serious? Like, this is a long ass book. Like,
yeah. So our next book is going to be. It is the. Why don't I have it in my list anymore? It's the
and the Genie by Helen Walker.
Yes, The Golem and the Genie by Helen Walker. It is Helen Wecker.
Is it Wecker?
Yeah. It is on Scribed, so if you guys have followed us and we've got a Scribed subscription, it's for free. Now. It's nice because it's like it's got a lot of the books Audible has, but you don't have to pay extra.
Glorious story. It is so good.
Which is it has a bunch of Jewish and Arabian folklore, and it's set in like 1800s New York. So it's a little bit of urban fantasy and got some folklore in it, and should be fun.
It is a wonderful story. Right now, it is a definite change. This is the stories of discovering what it means to be these things.
Okay.
what it means. Like, and just from what I started, the voice, the VA, I could listen to this person read his grocery list.
Yeah.
Like, it is unbelievably great.
And if you want to read it in preparation for when we cover our book, get right on it, because it's a long one. It's 19 hours, over 19 hours long. So with that, I think we're gonna close things up for the night, and we'll see you again on Thursday. Thanks everybody for watching.
Thank you.